Hello, everybody. I'm right on time. Hopefully everybody is able to join us no matter where you're at. I hope you picked an okay time. I guess people in Europe, sorry. You're probably all in bed, but hi, she's here. Okay, how do I do this, Denise? Do you have to ask to join? Yeah, you have to ask to join, I believe. Or maybe I can just add you. Hi, everybody. I'm so excited. Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, how are you?
Hi, friend.
What
So
are you
excited
doing
about this.
today? This is so fun. I've been waiting all day for this. Kept checking the clock.
Me too. I have too. I had a light day. It's really hot, but I've been looking forward to this, and I wrote all of these topics and questions down. Sometimes I have to remember, and this is just for everybody, sometimes I have to remember who I'm talking to when I talk to Denise, because we're friends, and
Leave your potty mouth at the door.
Yeah.
That's right. That's some advice for you right there.
I'm gonna do my very best. I'm so excited.
Can I start?
Please do.
Okay.
Please do.
Can I tell you all the reasons I love you? It's a long list. I'm gonna try for brief, but I just this is how I wanna start. I love you too.
I'm ready to receive this love.
All right. First of all, I love that you will take on any topic that you think needs to be taken on. You do not care who you're talking to, who's listening. You're just like, I want to go this direction. And I love that you do that.
Thank you.
I love that you listen to what's happening around you. And when you decide that you're wrong, you go, I was wrong. And you just, you take it, you reflect on it. And then you tell me, because this is like private or whatever, you tell me how you plan on incorporating that into and when you go forward, how you're going to make yourself a little bit of a better person as a result of your learning. But at the same time, you're like, damn, I wish I hadn't fucked up like that. Oh, I forgot. Okay, one strike.
You broke it first.
I forgot.
You broke it first.
But you take it, you accept it, you make it like how you're going to do better. At the same time, you kind of have that little seed of, damn, I wish I could just always be better from forever just because I want to be. I love that you blend education with entertainment. And so you'll do something funny and you're dancing out. And then I read what you write and it's like, it's serious. It's like tears running down my face. Like, wait, I thought we were dancing. I thought, and then it's like really serious. And I think you bring a lot of people in the door that way because they're like, oh, I was just here to laugh, because there's a lot of social media accounts which are entertainment. Some are good entertainment and some I think are not good entertainment. I think they're bad for dogs and some are good. But you have a way of turning it around. And I love that you care so much that everybody's going to get their dog trained. Everybody's going to have access. Like, it is such a driver for you that people are successful. And that is a pretty big driver for me too. I like seeing people be successful. When I drive down the street, I look at every single person with a dog. And I just watch and I just think, I just pay attention. I'm not even really having any opinions. I'm just watching and thinking about it. I love seeing people with dogs. It really means a lot to me. And I think you are, more than anybody I know, actively searching for the way to reach the most people while making a living. Now, I know a lot of people, I swear to God, they're practically homeless. They're giving it all away. And I respect that. But they're also practically homeless. And I don't think there is anything wrong with making a proper living. You come in with skills and you know things. I don't mean you. I mean the generic good dog trainer. They deserve to be compensated. People deserve to make a proper living for what they bring to the table. And at the same time, we always need to be conscious of the fact that we provide education, and education's more than buying a new set of dishes. It's it's just fundamental to
Yeah.
he's being a pain in the butt, but anyway, he
He
wants to
does good timing.
participate. He's over here rolling around and like, Mama, what about me?
Mom.
You're ignoring me. And I think there's millions of dogs in this country, millions of families with dogs. Education is like, it's everything. It's everything.
Yeah.
And often people will say, what's your primary goal? I said, my number one goal. Oh, look how I just seamlessly made this about me. Is that
well, I was about to.
I'm done talking about you,
it's
Jerri.
Fine.
Like, my number one goal is that people fall in love with their dog, because people fall in love with their dog, they will automatically try to do what they think is right for the dog, right for the family. And I don't know if we've ever talked about that specifically, but I know you're there, getting there in your way. So those are only 5 ways I love you. I could go on much longer, but
well, I'm keeping that forever.
Oh, good.
Thank you. Thank you. And honestly, I really think I'd like to do the same thing, because I think there's a couple of things about you that people don't know. I think that it just happens and you just do it, and I don't think people actually really know, because I think it's just as important as some of the things that you were talking about, like community, accessibility, all of those things. So I don't think people are aware of how many people you talk to. I don't think they have any idea that you have all of these like behind the scenes relationships with people, where you're actually really getting to know people beyond just like whatever their training methodology is. And I have also heard a lot of really accusatory, just bizarre things about you that I still to this day don't understand, and I will continue to not understand them, because I just know you privately and I know what you're doing. And when I think about things like advocacy within the industry, one of the most profound things that you can do for any community is mentor someone from their community that you believe in. Because now you've just given all of this information, the support, this access to a community that did not have a representative before. That was, I mean, I know Miss Lori. I really, to be honest with you, Denise, I cannot say that I can name a Black behaviorist right now. I cannot think of one. And so to say that a person is this, that, or the other, it really whatever. I mean, people are always going to say what they say and dislike you or not, like you or whatever. But I know the truth, and I know that in personally mentoring me and just being my friend, that has had, I think, one of the largest impacts on the community, because of I know what my influence is, and I know what I'm doing, and it's completely and totally related to my experience with you and my relationship with you. I just don't think a lot of people really know that you're like that with a lot of people. It's not like, that it's just me that you've done this with. I think that you've taken the opportunity to reach out your hand to a lot of people in the community, and maybe you just click better with some than others, but I think that's worth mentioning.
I think private conversations is where it's at. I really do. I think, and it's not even about changing people. That's not why I talk to people. I just think that when you reach out to people, just people as people, and talk to them, it creates a willingness to learn from them, and that can be a two-way street. So I might reach out to someone with I don't want to say a criticism, but let's just say a criticism, and they'll say something that actually checks me, like kind of makes me go, oh, you know what? I had not thought about it like that, and gives me something to think about. Mm-hmm. So just the reaching out privately, I think you can do a lot of interesting stuff for yourself. And then if you do have, like, today I have a quiet connection with someone, and I wanted some information. I thought they'd have it. We don't train the same way at all, but I thought that person might have the information I was looking for. And I asked for it, and I got what I wanted, even though one could argue that it would be in that person's not best interest to give it to me, because they trusted me to be responsible with the information. I want it because I want to understand things. Doesn't mean I'm going to come on social media and tell everybody everything I know, because that's not responsible behavior.
Correct.
But I need to know really what's going on out there, even when I choose not to talk about it. If I hear something interesting or inflammatory, I'll check on it and I'll find out how much of this is true. Tell me how much of this is true, and I'll get the truth. So, that comes from private relationships and people trusting that I know the difference between private and public, which is why I find it so offensive when people take private stuff and screen share it. I'm just like, man, that is the worst possible betrayal of our industry when you do that, because you ruin the most important line of communication out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's important to share private conversations appropriately. And a lot of the times when people are trying to work stuff out for themselves, they will say things in private conversation that are just passing in that moment in time for them. And they work on it and then they become something different. I like to share wins from private conversations. I like to share, those are the things that we can, or maybe somebody that's going through a really difficult time. And I blur all of that stuff out so that other people know they're not alone. But yeah, the private conversations where we're trying to, talk among professionals, I think I've seen a lot of that. That's why I actually stopped being on TikTok. I couldn't manage the drama in the way that I can on Instagram for some reason. I'm not sure if other people experience that, but it just became a very negative place for me that I felt like was overrun with misinformation, which Instagram is too. Every place is, but man, TikTok is
tough. TikTok actually has had a real profound influence on me. The one, it has made me think that regulation is probably a good idea, and I did not think that before TikTok. And then I just saw how bad it is out there. I'm like, you got to be kidding. Because if that's what people are showing publicly, then I don't even want to think about what's actually going on privately. Because you take somebody's public behavior and then add in frustration, right? So now you have, where does this really go, And then I start having some real concerns. So that was a thing for me. But the thing I'd say about TikTok, 5% is really, really loud. And they have a way of being like the bad apples in a bunch that ruin the whole damn bunch. Because I know there's great people over there. I used to do a lot on TikTok. I used to just kind of have a drink every day at 4:00 and go bullshit stuff.
Yeah, we all watched. We liked it.
It was fun.
It was fun.
It was fun to do. But TikTok is wearing. I find it wearing. Instagram, I find the sophistication levels higher, the not baiting,
So and the trolling, is easier to manage. Yeah,
somehow it's just a little bit more mature, a little more ready for complexity, maybe. So yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame.
So I want to ask you about a couple of things that I've been thinking about that I think are things like we should be talking about, but we get stuck in areas of distraction constantly in this industry, as we know. But I think that these are like questions that I want to know as a like, if I take my dog trainer hat off and I'm just my excited dog nerd self, and I'm listening to two of my favorite trainers. What do you think qualifies a dog trainer to work for you?
To work for me personally? You mean at my school?
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you like the process of how I pick people. The biggest one is we are a dog sports organization. That is very much kind of where we came from. And so we have expanded into a little bit of other stuff. So we now do some behavior and we do some super light pet dog stuff. But really, we are a dog sports school. So what I'm looking for is people who in their field are pretty world class. They're really good at what they do. In the behavior world, I'm looking for people who do something a little different. So there are a lot of really great behavior trainers out there, but they're kind of doing the same stuff,
Right.
Then I look at like Amy Cook and her playway, and it's different. It's different, and she's kind. Like that is non-negotiable. I tell people when they're talking about working for me, I'm like, you know what? The number one thing is you really have to be able to present yourself in a kind way. Even when you're frustrated or you think somebody should have known something, that's really your responsibility. And people just know that. So they don't even interact with me if they don't bring that to the table. Sharon Carroll, she's a lady in Australia. Her ability to take complex ideas and start making sense of them. I really appreciate that. Her willingness to write a novel in response to somebody's question because she feels that the novel is what is required impresses me. Karen Deeds, she does behavior stuff for us, but she has the dog sports background, and she took what she learned of the work in the dog world, the dog sports, like adding marker cues. She uses that in the world of behavior. I've never heard of anybody doing that. And she did a webinar for us, shows how she breaks it down. So I'm really looking for someone who just has a different take, that somehow I can explain to people why they are different than 95%, which says nothing against the 95%. It's just that I'm all about what's the future, what's the cutting edge. And the way to be on the cutting edge is to hire people who are there now, because then one of them says something and another one thinks about it, and the two of them start having a conversation, and then you end up with some just really cool things, like I was talking about my contact healing, and the first thing that happened in the instructor group is people start saying, I wonder how I can use that with my reactive dog. Or I was doing some stuff with Object Guard with my puppy, and someone's like, and another person actually is on Instagram, several people immediately just reached out and said, I'm thinking about how we could use that to reduce resource guarding by making it a game. And anybody who thinks that way, I look twice, because I'm just like, that's a person whose brain is trying to make connections. Yeah. And it's okay if you run down the wrong road a lot, because sometimes you're going to get it right. Like I tell people, 90% of what I do, I walk away. But that's okay, because 10% of the time I get it right. And sometimes I get it really right. So the willingness to just take ideas, that's the kind of thing I'm looking for. And then just on a totally pragmatic basis, do I actually need them? So do I need another person to teach agility or obedience? It's like, where do I have a hole? And I usually have people come in and teach a webinar for me, and that gives me a chance to know them. That gives them a chance to know me. It's a little bit of a two-way street. I like to just talk to people. What do you love? What interests you? And kind of see, do they have a passion in a direction that I need help? And somehow that's kind of worked out for us so far.
I like this list: kindness, the ability to break down complex ideas, inventive, different, creative, and willingness. I mean, that definitely sounds like somebody I would. Can you? Oh, Enzo's barking to be let in. I think it sounds like somebody I would want to work for me. And
that's kind of who you hire, though.
Well, like, none of that stuff had anything to do. Well, the first thing you said was obviously they need to be, a very good technician. I mean, that's a kind of obvious thing. But all of this stuff has to do with developing yourself as a person. It sounds like to me, like these are people that are probably working on their self a lot too. And I think that's something that we miss when talking about professionals in dog training. Does the person that you're wanting to learn from display emotional maturity as a human being? And I know that there's been a lot of times where one could argue that I have not displayed emotional maturity, and that would be true.
Me too.
But I think I think it's okay to do that if you're also displaying that you're working through it, and you like you said before, I gotta say that I'm wrong a lot. Otherwise, I just get, my ego just gets out of control. It's a monster. It's a monster, and it kind of sucks all the oxygen out of the room. So, okay, I've got another question. And this might be because you're in so many things. Maybe we know all of these. What is your secret area of interest, or maybe a budding area of interest that you have? You know what I mean by that?
I do.
Like, with the dog training?
That little guy wants to say hi.
Hi,
well, don't know if it's a secret area of interest, but he says he wants to get rats. So I'm going to see if I can't make that happen for him. So I'm going to try barn hunt, something new, keep my little dog busy. So I'm going to see about starting some classes at the ranch. So, it's really all about me, right? So it's like, oh, we're going to have classes. I guess somebody else could show up, but really it's about me. I want to do this with my dog. So that's kind of an area of interest. I don't know if people know this or not. I love people as much as I love dogs. I really love people. Like genuinely, and to clarify, not people in groups. People in groups are nothing but trouble.
Like one-on-one people saying.
I love individuals. I love even cranky, impossible, mean-spirited individuals one-on-one, because when you're working with somebody one-on-one, you realize there's always a reason for all that ugliness. And if they start talking to you, like if they drop all the shit, and God damn, that's the third time. I'm ruining this for the family show. If they drop all of the extra, if they trust you, you start to realize who they really are. Mm-hmm. And I love people. And so that gives me an enormous amount of patience. Like even when people are being quite unattractive towards me, I usually find myself not really taking it personally as much as just kind of wondering, how did this happen? Mm-hmm. How did you end up in a place where your life gratification is hurting other people or trying to hurt other people?
Yeah.
So I would say that if people didn't know that, I am genuinely fascinated by people. And a second area is I'm getting old. I'm 55. I'm falling apart,
Don't
Jerri.
say that. You're
I'm
not going to be old
apart.
at 55.
I'm falling apart. And I would like to not fall apart. So I have been very good for the past 6 months, maybe more, going to the gym 4 or 5 days a week, doing my yoga classes, doing my Pilates classes, doing my back exercises, dancing. So fun.
It's so fun.
Having a good time. I got a disco ball at the ranch now, and you bet I use it. I turn off the lights.
Oh, that's right.
I turn on the ball.
You sent me a video of
yes.
that when you did that.
Oh, I'm all about it. So
I love that so much.
Like kind of exploring, I don't know, fitness is the wrong word. Exploring the physical body and what you can do with it to feel something, right? To feel more alive, to feel more healthy, to roll out of bed a little morning. I was noticing this past couple weeks, I kept thinking, the classes, they're making them easier. I swear to God, Jerri, I'm a very simple person. And it's very easy for me to get confused. So I'm like, oh, look, they're all making the classes easier, right? There's so much. And then I'm like, finally, I'm like, wait, maybe I'm getting better, right? So I went to each of the instructors that I work with a lot. And I just said, I just want to thank you because I'm getting better. I'm getting better. Like, I don't hurt so much at the end of your class. I don't hate you the way I used to. I'm getting better. I'm so excited. And because you know what, I try not to miss opportunities to tell people I appreciate them, if I do. And I really do appreciate these folks who are helping me get stronger and, providing that class, the camaraderie. So maybe that's something people don't know. I can't hear you, Jerri. You're muted.
Oh, I hit the mute. I hit the mute because Layla was leaving and I thought it was going to make a lot of noise. I'm trying to think of what people may not know about me because I'm so open and I'm so, I try to show a lot. I think people may not know about me that I'm really very, 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 very sensitive in a classical arts sort of way. Like classic American literature, poetry. Like I'm a very,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm a very, I just was a very, very sensitive child. And my mom encouraged that. And my mom was also a voracious reader, which was wonderful for me. But yeah, I mean, I was published in a poetry book when I was younger, and I used to be a really great writer. And I want to write a book so bad, but I'm just, it's like too much. It's too much. There's just
a thing. It's a thing.
It's
It's a big
thing.
project.
You've written a lot of books. I think I can go back out in the sunshine. You've written a
Yeah, I
lot.
have. And I'm
I've read
glad I
them.
did it. But you got to do it because something inside of you is telling you that a book has to get written because it's enough
Yeah.
work. Now I mean, your life story would be right there, would be a lot. So that would kind of be awesome. And when I was a kid, I was a huge, huge reader. So for those youngsters watching us, like I grew up in the time before computers, right? So you went to school and then you went to the library and I would literally pick up like 10 books at a time, read the whole thing in a week, bring them all back. It was just, all the Black Beauty books.
Oh,
I would just clear out the entire shelf. And then when I ran out of books, it's like I'm eating my breakfast. I'm reading the back of the cereal box. It was just, it was this endless thing. I'm actually sorry I lost that. Because I have lost my attention span for reading. And so now I don't know why or where that went, but I miss that because reading is amazing. It's such a fantasy world.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, I think that's, but I was an only child, so I had to, find things that were going to take up my time, and also before the internet existed. Okay, let's talk about, I want to get into some of this controversial stuff. Can we talk about board and trains?
Yep.
Okay. So I get a ton of grief in the community because I talk about board and trains. And I understand that it's probably a lot of the way that I do it and the tone that I'm doing it in. But I'm trying to cause buzz around a topic so that it bubbles to the top so that we all talk about it. But I recognize that by doing that, I am alienating my friends.
Yep.
And so I've learned to back off a little bit, but when asked, I will say what I think, and I will continue to say that. One of my friends was traveling around, his name's Jason. He's a good dog trainer, he's a balance trainer, and he was traveling around interviewing all of the Black dog trainers. And it was like, oh, it just was so, and I happened to be in Tulsa at the time, so we went to the Cowboys of Color rodeo together, and we did our interview, and it was great. It was so much fun. We had so much fun. I'm so glad we did it. But he said something to me. He said, and it was on camera, but we're sitting next to each other, and we're friends, so he can say what he, and just something that he said, it just hurt me for him. He's like, well, sometimes the way you talk about it is just, and it just made me think about what you were saying before, that feeling of, man, I wish and it's just regret is such a powerful motivator for me. When I recognize, like, oh God, like I probably use it more than any other feeling to actually do some really, to progress. But how do we attack ideas and not people? How do we discuss topics without alienating people? Or is that part of what it means to be in a profession? It changes, the industry grows, and you have to be willing to move along with it as it changes. What do you think?
I mean, first of all, if you attack an idea and not a person, and a person feels attacked, that's really not on you, that's on them. Yeah. So if you attack board and trains, and people who offer board and trains choose to feel like you're talking about them, you're expressing your opinion about it. I will tell you, and I really have no qualms about this. When people ask me about board and train, I say I would never send my dog to a board and train unless I knew that person so well, because the percentage of board and trains, if you just think about what the purpose of board and train is to get things done really fast. I think that with rare exceptions, I personally would not put my dog in a board and train. And there are very few people that I would trust because, it's so funny you mentioned this, because I was actually thinking about this last night. In terms of regulation, I would start with board and train. Same. If they were going to regulate the industry, and I would just say there needs to be a camera. 24 hours a day, there needs to be a camera.
Yes.
And people say, no, you can't do that because it's in my house. The thing is, regulation isn't designed to protect you, the one giving it out. Regulation is designed to protect the consumer. Do I want a camera in my house? No, but I recognize that if I'm going to take in other people's dogs, and I recognize that the abuse is widespread in the industry, then I accept that either I have a room where the dogs stay, where the camera's in there, and a training area, and then that's on me. That's part of the cost of doing business in your home.
Right.
Or I make different decisions, but I have huge concerns. Too many people send their dogs to board and train, and when the dog comes back, they're like, I'm like, how'd it go? And they're like, well, he's really quiet. There is zero reason for a dog to come back with a lesser personality. There's no reason for it. What happened to a dog that actually literally changed its energy level? That's a problem. And
yeah,
that's
its entire way of dealing with life is now more inward. That's definitely very tough.
That scares the crap out of me. And I'm just like, no, I don't recommend board and trains. I do think there's a place for day training where a person takes a dog.
I like day training.
But the ones I know that do day training, they like record their session. So like, let's say I go into your house, I take your puppy out, walk your puppy, and take a half-hour training. Then that's given to the owner, like it's in their home. So you have context. I think that's a fantastic business model, and I would actually encourage young trainers to consider it. Because especially if somebody has a young puppy, like 4 months old, 3 months old, it has to get out to the bathroom anyway. So why don't you hire somebody who can do two things? Hold on one sec. You gonna hold it together? Who's coming in? Hey, Alana, I'm on a live, just so you know, okay?
Alana.
It's a dog live. You can like pop on Instagram. Yeah. No. We can talk about it later, but no. I kind of lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, the board and trains.
Yeah.
Dogs shouldn't come back with changed personality. I do think though that there is a business model that includes going into people's homes, working with those dogs who have to get out anyway because of their age, and working on skills that they need in their home, and then showing the owner. That's the kind of thing I think has a lot of value, and I personally would pay a lot for that. And I think if somebody asked me and they had the funds, I would strongly suggest that over just somebody taking the dog out in the middle of the day, because the dog gets the mental exercise.
And also over daycare. Daycare. A lot of people are throwing their dog into what?
But I do think that if we're going to take dogs into our homes, then we need to accept that people have a right to know what you're doing with their dog and how much time is it spending in a crate. You know, that openness. And if you don't love that, then I think you need to consider, and I think we should regulate it, because I don't think regulation is about the trainer. I think it's about the public. And I understand that people I love and care about would be harmed by that, because they don't want to have that kind of scrutiny over like where they have dogs. And I can't solve that problem. I think the problem is greater than the well-being of the occasional trainer who doesn't want a camera in their home. It's kind of where I'm at with it.
That was a bar, wasn't it? I have been definitely I moved toward that model. Well, I don't think I ever did anything but that model. Then every single moment of training is recorded. Everything I say, obviously I'm a virtual trainer, so it's a little bit different, but everything I say, everything they say, everything I tell them to do, everything that they're showing me, all of it is on record, because clients need to be able to have the ability to take something and ask someone else if they feel uncomfortable, or if they're just truly so confused, maybe they don't know how to talk to the trainer. I just think that we should definitely move more towards that. Where I came in from this angle was a little bit different. I was coming at it from the angle of human beings, because I had so much experience with teen challenge camps. And I had so much experience with inpatient situations that I knew any industry that's outside of, let's say the regulated industry of medicine, if you've got people that can come and take your kid or take your dog and say, I'm going to take them and do this, and it's going to be tough love or whatever the case is, and then they take them away. I have really only seen that be successful with such a small percentage that I really can't quantify it. With humans or dogs, it's just not. And many parents also will do that with children that are having extreme behavioral issues, or maybe they're having addiction problems or whatever, and they send them to these places. And we just now know that if stuff isn't recorded, all these kinds of things can happen across the board with multiple different species and multiple different industries. So that was where I was coming from, was like, listen, if Paris Hilton's parents are paying $100,000 for her to go to Utah where she gets abused in a private school, there's not a lot of hope for dogs. You know, I mean, I hope people can understand the connection that I'm making there when I say that. It's, you know, this is a problem within human beings as well, not just dogs.
Yep. And I also think the question of, so, I mean, I said earlier, my number one goal is that people fall in love with their dogs. And somebody asked me recently a little bit about, like, philosophically, how much energy should we spend on training dogs? And how much energy should we spend on learning to live with dogs, right? Yeah. And I fall pretty heavily in the learning to live with dogs category. I think dogs come with a temperament, come with needs, come with interests, come with personality. To respect that is actually not about working with the dog at all. It's largely a conversation with people who are living with the dog to, one, understand what they need. You got to understand what your client needs, right? To understand, why did you get a dog? What is the situation? The big picture. And then to educate them on what you believe as a professional going into the home, what the dog needs. That emphasis, the board and train doesn't have a lot of value there to me, because board and trains largely are going to teach specific skills, but I don't think specific skills are what get people through their life with their dog happily. It's rare. I'm not saying there aren't dogs that try to get out the front door and they're going to get killed because they're on a busy street. Okay, I get that. But most of the heel, sit, down, come, stay stuff is not the make or break. That is not, people aren't freaking out because their dog doesn't sit on cue. They're freaking out because the dog is peeing in the house or biting people or whatever. Those things don't get solved by sending your dog away. Those are much deeper issues that come from something, somewhere. And that's all, 80% of that is a conversation, trying to figure out, why is this happening? What is driving this? And then the next part is figuring out, okay, now that you have that, what are your options for addressing it in a way that's going to work for all the parties? And that's, I don't see board and train really getting to the root of that.
Okay, so let's parlay that into what are the new ideas or new, I don't want to say new. What are our ideas or approaches that are better than that?
So wouldn't this be a fine time for you to tell me how you are doing your daily check-ins? What does that mean? How are you working with people? Tell me, if I called you and said I want to work with you, tell me what happens. Because I'm fascinated by what you're doing, and I seriously think you might be the wave of the future, this daily interactive check-in. So tell me more about how that works for you.
So validating to hear you say that. Well, first of all, I have a system that the clients go through, just like 12 steps. I don't say it to them in that way, but that's what's happening, and they know it and I know it. So first, I explain to them what my job is. My job is just like a sponsor in recovery. That's the way I view it. I can't speak for other trainers and what they feel, but so just like with recovering from alcoholism, we turn and reach our hand out to the next person. Well, I happen to be really great with dogs. I wouldn't say I've recovered from anything, but so I reach my hand out and I help. And I do that, I do it in that spirit because it levels the playing field and it makes us like equals in this way. But also there's this undeniable knowledge that I'm doing something and succeeding in something that you want to and you're not yet. So just listen to what I'm saying. Take this journey with me. So I piecemeal this out every day to them. And the first thing that we do is we just start inside the house and we move all the way to outside the house. So inside, backyard, front yard, driveway, street, and all along while we're doing that, we're building in alternative behaviors and obviously heavily reinforcing those. We're talking about needs, how we get those met. We're covering every single topic, but because I only say a little bit every day, or if they ask me something 5 or 6 times in the course, well, I'll just repeat it 5 or 6 times. And they hear it again and again and again. Or I notice that they're pressing a point that I know is going to cause failure. They're pressing. Well, I understand that, like I have a client right now and she's great and I love her, but she's an overanalyzer. She wants to overanalyze every single tiny little thing, which is a common thing for people to do. I'm used to that. So I have to simplify it for her. Do I need to know what kind of needle you were using to know that you're shooting heroin and that you need help? Do I need to know what kind of dirty hotel you're in? I don't need to know any of that. So a lot of my process is stripping away all of the story that they're telling, because we layer this story over what's going on and then we watch it from this, like, I can imagine one of those little 8mm, like, or the projector films, and we watch it and we follow it and we tell it over and over. And the reality is, I think actually a lot of people don't really know a lot about dogs. They just know from the lens of their experience of being around probably the ones that they grew up with, those kinds of things. So my job, again, like the sponsors in AA, you teach the program of Alcoholics Anonymous and you take people through the steps. My job is to teach people what a dog is. What are they? What is this thing? Like, oh my God, it has feelings, it has emotions, it has a nervous system. It has behaviors that are assigned to these certain levels of arousal. And until we do something about it, every time your dog goes to that level of arousal, this is what's going to happen. It's like these little snippets of, like, every day we're going to just read another page in the chapter. And then we're going to have a quiz at the end of the week. And then we're going to make sure. And I also get to watch what they're doing. And I get to tell them what it is from my lens and ask them to look at it from my point of view. Now, can you tell me that you see what I see? Do you see how your dog's doing that particular thing right there? Okay, so this is what that means. That's displacement sniffing. So your dog's actually really super nervous right then. And it's like this light bulb. They're like, oh my God, you're right. Because every single time now that I think about it, how do you put that together in a 1 hour in person?
And how do they remember?
How do they remember?
So, like, just logistically, they're on a camera, on a computer facing the dog, or how are you seeing the dog?
This is the important part. So I do what's called asynchronous training, meaning neither of us have to be there at the same time. We agree that we will check this workspace every 24 hours. So that means that we don't have to meet and sit down and talk like this, because there's a weird expectation that arises when that happens. What are we going to do? Are we going to make the dog do something? Or are you going to have to do something? Yeah. It's just very awkward. I don't like to train synchronously like that. I think it's just the same as an in-person.
Right.
It just is.
Right.
So they just use their phone. Anyone can train with me as long as they have a phone with a camera and a Wi-Fi connection. I try to keep it as simple as possible. They can set it on the ground. Right. They can most people just get tripods because they figure out it's easier. Yeah. They can set it on the ground, they can whatever, but I have specific things that I'm asking them to do. And while we build the skill set, I ask them to go out so that we can start to generalize that skill set. And they can, okay, now we're going to go out at a busier time of day. And this is what I want you to do. Stick the camera in the yard and do what you do. Just don't worry about it. I'll see what I need to see. And so I just watch. I watch and I make sure that that dog is really ready to move on. And that we're hitting 80, 90% success on what we're doing. And then we add a little more. Okay, now we're going to work on our walk. And I want to tell you, instead of where we don't want the dog to go, I'm going to show you how to send your dog where you want them to go with food. So we're going to work on sending our dog the places we want. And I send him my little video of me doing that. I have all these stock videos that I've created of where I'm actually in the moment, or I reuse clients' videos who are learning the same skill, and they have a dog that doesn't know that skill yet, and they're trying, and then I'll point that out. See how here this particular dog isn't really getting it, so we're going to make this adjustment. If that happens to you, I thought there was, it's in your, Denise, it's in your window. And that's trippy, because look.
Our windows are, I know, I see it. It's right down. Wait, hold on. Let me line them up. Okay, we're in line. Now my guests are your guests.
That was wonderful. So that's it. And we talk Monday through Friday. I have them on a little list. Here's my personal clients. And I have a little check. And I go through and I sit down at about, in the summer, at the hottest part of the day when I don't want to be outside. And Enzo's sleeping and has already, I've done all the things. And I just go through my list and I watch everything that they've sent me, because they can ask me anything that they want. But it's very directed. And I teach them how to learn from someone. How do I learn something that's really complicated and personal to me? I can't say enough that people do not have this kind of relationship access. Like, a lot of people do not have mentors. They don't have someone they can talk to their problems about. Certainly not their dogs. Nobody wants to hear that. Like, the average person does not want to sit and talk about dog reactivity.
No.
But I also realize how much of it's really for them, and that they were alone in this, and they just felt alone. And just that one little piece of having a person to talk to every day that cares, that is actually really invested in, like, I love this. Like, I'm going to talk about it every day. That's really invested. There's something about it. And it unlocks this, like, I don't know. I don't have words for it yet. I'm trying over the years, but to figure it out. But it's the same thing that happens in recovery. I don't know what the word for it is. In recovery, we call it a spiritual awakening. I could say, somebody said a really good thing the other day, and my sponsor used to say this, and obviously those two people did not know this, a paradigm shift. I watch people have a paradigm shift when they work with me. And that is the single determiner in whether their dog will get better or not. It doesn't matter how bad the dog is. It never matters. It always matters whether the human being is willing, if they're willing to take the suggestions and do the work. If they are, 100% of the time I've seen the dog get better. 100% of the time in busy urban environments with aggressive dogs, I've seen them get better. And
because they're committed.
Yeah, because they're committed, and they recognize the delayed gratification aspect, and they recognize the discipline. That discipline will save you every time over fancy tricks and techniques. And discipline, just showing up alone, is where a lot of, I think, the discoveries are for people, where they make the connections, in those little quiet moments where, for the first time their dog looks at them instead of the trigger. Or I just want to scream cry for those people.
That's so exciting.
One of the most reactive dogs that I've ever had. Katie, I hope you're watching. His name is Odin, and she became one of my friends. A lot of my clients become my friends. And she messaged me this morning, and she was like almost in tears. Just, oh my God, Jerri, like, we went past all these dogs. He didn't even react. I mean, she couldn't even have him out in the backyard. I know, he would throw himself at the fence. She couldn't open her back door without him losing his mind when she started working with me. And when I see people spend 6 weeks with me feeding their dog eggs at a door so that their dog can reassociate something, or so, I just, oh my God, it's like watching someone in recovery. It's like watching someone fight for their life, you know, like really join and jump into the ring and participate. And it's the most beautiful thing to me, because every single time those people see not only results, but I think they see how important their attitude is in the process.
When I think about it from the point of view, a lot of trainers complain about how their clients won't do the work. They feel a lot of frustration that they care way more than the client. But the way you're describing it, it's actually huge emotional investment on your part. Like, the trainer is truly putting their heart into it. So it's a long day for you, right? Because the ups are up, the downs are down. Like, you are in that picture. But for the kind of trainer who's way beyond this as a job, like the kind of person who it's truly their brain is sucked in by dogs, is not about going to work and getting a paycheck. That's a pretty high when you see changes happening in front of you, and that you're there. I had lunch with a trainer today, and she has what she calls happy hour. Happy hour for 1 hour every day. Any of her clients can call her for any reason. So 8
That's
o'clock
adorable.
every night. And she said she specializes in reactive dogs. And she said, sometimes she gets a phone call and the person's just beside themselves. They're so upset something happened. And she's like, you kind of talk them off the ledge. You tell them to have a glass of wine. You tell them it's going to be okay in the morning, and we're going to be able to deal with this. But get yourself a good night's sleep, and we're ready to deal with this. And I love the idea of happy hour. Back in the day, I used to worry a lot about boundaries. I used to worry that if I gave people access to me, that they would abuse it.
Yeah.
Right. So I had a lot of rules, right?
Yeah.
Like, during my lesson, you have all the time, but I don't answer things outside. I had rules. And what I've learned as time's gone by and I've lightened up the rules, you can pretty quickly figure out who's pushing the boundaries. And then you deal with them as individuals. You don't need to make blanket rules to cover a problem that doesn't exist. So I'm not,
right.
If somebody sends me a note and says, I'm having, problems with reactivity, where do I start? I can't help that person. That is a huge, broad question. And I'm going to say, what you need is a trainer. And maybe I can help you with that. But if somebody says, I can't get my dog to sit straight, do you have any tips? Really, I might. And I might be able to just whip something out in 30 seconds for you. If it's just a simple matter of a paragraph, I'll give you that paragraph. It's not a big deal. And I don't find that people take advantage of it. And the ones that do, I just mental note, right? It's like, I'm not going to be able to help that person going forward because I'm not. And what I tell them is, I'm no longer a professional trainer. So I'm not the person to help you. But I think I severely underestimated people in terms of their willingness to be respectful. And so now if I was a trainer, I love the idea of happy hour. And I think it could enormously improve your success with clients who they're trying to decide on a given day, do I even want to work with this dog? But they know that in an hour they can send you a little note or call you during happy hour and just say, hey, this weird thing happened. What are your thoughts? Right? Like, I just think that would be kind of almost a night and day game changer for some folks.
Well, I'll tell you what I do, and it proves your point. All my clients have my phone number, and they can text me or call me at any time. If they're freaking out, if they just want to say what a win is, that's fine. But we have our workspace, and they're pretty good about, they just put everything in the workspace because they recognize that I check it every day. I'm there. I'm going to see it. I'm going to hear it. I'm going to be here for you. Yeah. But sometimes they do need to be talked down off of a ledge, and they have done something that is outside the realm of what I have instructed them to do, much as I did when I was in recovery early. I'd just be doing things, and then, and my sponsor's like, why did you do that? Don't go there. How about that? Don't go there. That's most of the time when clients call me when they're freaking out. Okay, well, that's okay. Let's break down what happened. It's shocking. It was a management fail. But what I do is I try as much as possible to have interaction with every single person that reaches out to me, whether that's a DM or a a person that comes onto the website or whatever, because I've been doing that for 5 years, and I think that it's what's built my community, is because I talk to every single person, especially if they come and they're a one-on-one client. They're definitely going to get, just like a sponsor, right? So I talk to everybody in the meetings, but my sponsor, we're real tight. That's how I feel about my clients, and I want them to feel like that about me forever. And they don't abuse it. They come back and buy new packages with me. They don't abuse it. They always are so considerate of my time and my energy, always, which brings me to the next point. It's something that you said about clients, and when trainers feel that they're putting in more than the client. That, and I just want to submit this to the dog trainers to really take this in, that's a you problem. That's an us problem. We are responsible for curating our clientele. And so very early on, I learned that we only, the Coast Guard motto, I only help the people that are swimming towards me. And that means to be swimming towards me, you have to be ready to take accountability. You have to be willing to take suggestions, and you have to be open to some of the things that I'm saying. Honesty, openness, accountability. It's your honesty, openness, and willingness. Accountability too, throw it in. But those are the things. So if you're ready to do that, then you're a great client for me. We're a great match, because you're going to have to change a lot, and I'm really good at helping people through that process because I do it a lot myself. If that doesn't resonate with someone, and they're looking for someone who's just going to tell them some things or do some things, I'm just not the trainer for them. And I think if a lot of us sat down and wrote, what is my ideal client? Who do I really want? There's nothing wrong with having an ideal client. The thing where we would go out and kind of, oh, there's somebody over there with a dog that's struggling, I'm going to help them. Like, imagine if physicians did that. If we were just all out in public and physicians saw somebody at a table at a restaurant that they thought looked sick, and they got up and went over, I think that's kind of been, maybe traditionally how we would perceive that we're supposed to be getting clients. But your message, the way you represent yourself and your training and your business, all of that is what pulls clients in. And you can pull clients in that are going to give you a really high success rate. I mean, my success rate's out the roof, but it's just because it's such a personal thing, and it's just as much about the person as it is the dog. So thank you for letting me talk about it. I do think the daily
I love hearing about
revolutionary.
I love hearing about successful business models. And when I say successful, I really am talking results oriented. And when I say results, I don't even mean behavior change in the dog. I mean a happier situation. Like, I'll tell you, probably one of the biggest wins I've ever had in my own family and dog training was putting film on the window so my dog wouldn't bark at the cat. Now, that took zero training. It took a trip to Home Depot and the 20 minutes to put it in. The reason that was an enormous win, no frustration, instant success, dog is happier because he didn't have cat issues. I'm happier. Damn. I mean, solutions like that for me are such a win. And I am results oriented. It doesn't matter how much time and energy I put into helping you with whatever. If it didn't resonate for you, then as the teacher, it either really was a poor match. So when I say I'm responsible, I don't mean that I should have necessarily done it differently. What I'm saying is that I was not successful in something I care about, and I care about teaching. And there's absolutely a point and a place when people are going to be receptive and open to the way I think about it, whatever that is. And if they're not there, maybe it's better if they do work with somebody else at that point. You know, maybe there is somebody out there that's super directive. I'm not directive. I'm very like, what do you need to be happy? Here's what I'm seeing. Oh, look how adorable your dog is. I am all about like, I'm just like, your dog is super cute. And this is why I think your dog is cute. And I like the way the dog looked at you before he walked over there. You know, I see these things because I want people to start looking at their dog saying, oh, yeah, he's pretty cute. Yeah, he is. Finding what's right, pulling people in that direction, acknowledging and celebrating success. And I have to admit, I have a huge soft spot for optimists. I have a hard time with the yes, but. So when I was training clients a lot, I struggled with people who yes, but, even as their dog is improving, they're yes, butting away. And it's just personally, it's a poor match for me. I do so much better with people who think things are getting better. And I'm kind of going, oh, this is slow progress. And they're like, woohoo! That's what I want, because it's a lot easier for me to support someone who wants to see things getting better and is looking for it, rather than, yeah, but I still can't go to Home Depot with my dog. Yeah, but why do you need to go to Home Depot? I mean, really? Did you not need to go to Home Depot?
Well, this is one thing I hear a lot. Well, every time this dog that's off leash runs up, my dog still explodes. When someone runs at me and continues on, I'm going to hit him. That's the way that I am. A different person may cower. A different person may fawn. I'm probably going to swing. You know, do we need to train Jerri? Is that
maybe
a
we just need to work with
problem?
Let's just work with Jerri. Did you, by any chance, you or anybody's watching this, if you're curious, watch my rooster live. I think it has some very important, it was about a week ago, and I just talked about my rooster. But the thing that is so valuable to think about, when I was researching problems with my rooster's pending aggression, he was becoming more aggressive. There's just this across the board understanding that it's not because he hates me. It's not personal to people. He's not a bad rooster. He's a rooster showing a rooster behavior. It happens to be an unsavory behavior if you're the one on the other side of it. And then there were a lot of solutions to it. But every single response that I saw was rooted in the fact that he was showing rooster nature. And I thought, wow, if the people in the world could recognize that your dog is showing dog nature, that would be huge. Like in the farming community, everybody understands that roosters have rooster behavior. And not only that, recognizing what's good about rooster behavior. There is a reason that they behave that way. And I would be very sad if we had to give up our rooster, because he shows a lot. He's very helpful in many ways. He protects the hens. He does all kinds of stuff that's good. He's just showing rooster nature. That doesn't mean his rooster nature is acceptable in my situation. It does mean that by understanding it, I don't need to win. I don't need to change his rooster nature. I need to find a way to make the circumstance safe so that I don't end up in trouble, the rooster doesn't end up in the pot, and society doesn't end up, And I just, reading all these people talking about how they solved the rooster problem, I just kept thinking, if only dog people read this and had the flow of information. Anybody in the community, I would guess, knows 10 different ways that people handle rooster aggression, whether they use them or not. They know all of the possibilities and probably have tried out several of them. And then, selected. But there's no anger towards, do you know one solution is you pick up the rooster like it's a football, you tuck its head under your arm, and you walk it back and forth in front of the hens. Effectively, you're humiliating him, because roosters they do that. You control the rooster. And it's so offensive to the rooster that the next time you come out, the rooster will try to stay away from you because they don't want to be humiliated. He doesn't want to be humiliated. Shaming. Now, I do not know enough about roosters to know exactly what's going on, but I will say that I actually kind of believe that might be exactly what's happening based on other things I've learned about roosters. So that's one technique. Some people just hit them with a broomstick, right?
That's what I was about to say. And not that I was recommending that, but the common thing that I have always known is you just take a really big stick with you and you protect yourself as best you can. I've been attacked by, I can't even tell you how many roosters. I mean, just straight up assaulted. So
You know what I did?
I get it.
So I took I couldn't find a broom. So I took the garbage can lid and I used it like a shield going into battle, right? You know, like that.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. When he came at me, I could sort of block him. But because I studied it a little bit, I went online and I learned the next time I'm going to bring a towel and I'm just going to throw the towel over his head. I thought, okay, that fits more with my whatever. I also, you got to go straight through those roosters. You got to show leadership. You can't avoid the rooster because they love that. Then they start chasing you around. But the thing that struck me was that there was no anger among the different rooster owners based on their solutions. It was more of a, what are the possibilities? And I really felt that anybody who learned that the kindest answer, let's just say throwing a towel over its head, if the person who kicks the rooster learned that you could throw a towel over its head and that it worked, I felt very confident based on the demeanor of the participants in these conversations that they would start throwing a towel over its head. I did not see one person say anything that sounded like, ain't no rooster gonna tell me what to do. I won't walk in my barn. I'm gonna walk in my barn. Like, I did not see one person show that. Everybody's like, hey, let's just make this work. If that means you ban the hens after dark and you lock the rooster in a crate, that's what you got to do. But it wasn't a dominance thing. It was a, how are we going to get along? And then also a very pragmatic reality. If we can't solve this problem and the rooster is dangerous, we're going to eat the rooster. Right now, we don't eat our dogs. We do on occasion euthanize them, but we don't eat them. And sort of the overarching recognition that people matter. And I saw several people saying, I probably should have eaten the rooster, but I couldn't, so I lived with him. And the response to that was, yeah, you know what, it's pet rooster. Like, it was just this incredibly accepting set of conversations that went everywhere from eating the rooster to feeding him special treats and only picking him up if he consented. I swear to God, I read that. So I'm just like, wow, this is the dog world without the divide. So if anybody wants to go listen to my rooster life. But it was almost an epiphany for me that groups can exist with the same issues. They talked about suppression, that if you smack him with a broomstick, just be aware that in a month he might come up behind and grab you because all you did,
boiling in there.
The emotion is still there. I was dying. When I was reading, like,
you're like,
yes.
There's
when they use
behaviorists
suppression, when they said the emotion's still there, you're just suppressing it. I swear to God, I was howling in here going, wow, they are sharing this exceptionally important information and nobody's upset. Everybody's just like,
nobody's mad.
There's so much to be learned.
Another one that's really getting to me that's interesting is the goat thing.
Exactly.
So when I train my goat and I'm laughing and jumping around and it's all really funny and I'm trying to highlight the fact that this is mostly management. Like, this is a billy goat. And then John gets on and is teaching little baby goats with a bottle. And people are like, you're abusive to him. And I was like, to the point of, it made me start to wonder, wait, is that is what he's doing? I mean, not abusive, but is what he's doing wrong? Jerri, no. Like, he's just playing with goats and they're just having a bottle. And it's just, all of it. So that was a huge awakening in terms of like, what really happens with the comments? How much does it really shift even the thinking of people that know better?
I think people showing training, he's got himself a pile of rats now. I think
I saw that.
You did?
Yes,
I think the
I'm so excited.
process of watching a dog trainer who comes from a very traditional background, or that's my experience with him, to watch him exploring new directions, new species, to ask questions is pretty fun for me. Just to listen to him laughing, the excitement he's showing.
The picture of that goat that he was holding was probably one of the most precious things I've ever seen in my life.
To be able to, because with dogs we have a lot of preconceived notions about, you got to win, you got to have rules. And somehow I think when we're working with other species, for some of us, it's just a little easier to say, oh, this is a silly side thing. But the fact is you're learning a lot. A dog is just another animal. A person's just another animal. A goat is just another animal. You can choose how much you want to fight with dogs, goats, roosters, people. It's up to you. But at the end of the day, your life is going to be better. And that's something else. The lady I had lunch with today, obviously a dog trainer, a positive reinforcement approach is really not about training dogs. It's about how you go through life. It's about how you think about situations. It's about how you approach complex situations. And when you have two people who maybe don't have the same point of view, or two animals, right? It's really about getting along in a way that creates the most win-win possible. Yeah. And it's changed my life. I mean, there's just no question I am not the same person I used to be, because eventually it becomes your life. It may just start out as your dog training method, but eventually you start looking at the world that way, and it truly changes who you are. So your first answer when the rooster is going after you is not, God damn it, I'm going to put you in the pot. Your first answer is, well, why are you doing this? What am I trying? How am I going to manage your behavior while we work it out? You know, I don't want to hurt the rooster. I don't want to hurt anything. I don't want to hurt the rats. You know, I've got problems with rats on my ranch, in my buildings. The question I asked was, I can't have these rats living in my building. What's the quickest way to kill the rat? Like, that's my mental model. You have to die, but I do not want you to suffer. I do not want you to drown. How can I do this? And that was a huge driver for me. And so it's a weird thing to say, positive reinforcement influences how I choose to kill an animal, but it does. I don't want unhappiness, you know? And believe me, if I could just tell the rats, look, if y'all just moved out, I'd even leave you food. I'd even make a little space for you if you would stay in there. But if I can't have that, how can I make this work? And it really is. And so when I watch a trainer exploring other species and kind of coming to this, how can I make this work? This is really fun. I think that's exciting. For me, that's exciting to watch, to be a part of, in a way.
I agree. I learned Amy Cook's active management on my goat. It was, I mean, I thought, if I can do this with this goat who's trying to run in front of every car, like, I mean, he just had this response around certain things. And if I can get him out into the world and build his confidence, I could teach people to do this with their dogs. You know, like, I already was working on, you know, a little bit of that fear reactivity with people, not much, but it gave me an outrageous level of confidence to just be like, it was really hard. It was really hard. And you know what? My daughter has a completely different way of dealing with him. She will just put a prong collar on him, and then they do all of this stuff. He jumps, he runs barrels. She taught him all this little dressage stuff, and he's happy. He gets food. He doesn't really care, you know? So there was just so many lessons in just having that goat and watching her and I do it different, applying stuff from dog training to what I knew about him. It was a nice experience, and I wish more trainers would seek out learning about other species, for sure.
I think the more you do that, the more that commonality kind of hits you in the head, and you just sort of realize we're just animals. I mean, we're all just animals, and hopefully that gives you a sympathy and realizing, and your friends are just animals. So if you're having those feelings, they're having those feelings. I think it's got to make it easier to take the perspective of others if you truly internalize positive reinforcement. I think some people apply positive reinforcement to dogs as a way to help individual dogs, but I don't necessarily think that at this point in their careers, they have internalized it as a way of going through life with a kinder, better life. It's more than, oh, well, they treated me badly, I'm going to treat them badly. The reality is, even if they treat you badly, just like a dog who tries to bite you, your ability to let that all go and come back in the way that is most likely to help the other settle so they don't need to bite you anymore. Look for it if you can. I mean, you're not going to win them all, because people have to be ready to want to engage, but give it a shot. You know, give it a shot. Try to be that better person. And it just makes life better. It makes life better for all of us.
I
So it's
think you can
worth
see
it.
it when people are really internalizing it. You can see it in the rest of their life. You can see them encouraging a lot of the people around them. You know, you can see their consistency, their encouragement, their hype, as I would say. Okay, I've got a couple more questions for you. What would you like to see less of in just, let's say, on social media? And what would you like to see more of?
The sarcasm.
Ooh, that's such a pointed way to say it. It's very specific. That's right. It is sarcasm.
The sarcasm, the desire to hurt other
The
people.
undercutting. Yeah.
When you watch something you don't like, that it's the desire to hurt. I think it comes from a place of powerlessness.
Yeah.
I'm watching you do things to a dog I don't like.
Mm-hmm.
I can't actually do anything about it, but I can hurt you. That's what I can do. I can't change you as a dog trainer, but I can cause you pain.
Yeah.
I so wish people could move past that, because when they do that, they're doing harm without even realizing it. And they're not doing harm to the person, or they might be. They're doing harm to the cause that they are trying to champion.
That's a big
And if there was something I could see more of, you might have to watch a 2-minute video to pick out 2 seconds of something you like, look for it, and comment on it. Yeah. And, you know, I don't just watch and acknowledge everything. There's a lot I can't watch. There's a lot that I'm like, I'm not ready emotionally to do everything. I can't do that. Yeah. And that's fine, right? But there's a lot of stuff that I watch and I think, I see a glimmer in here of some good stuff. Lots of stuff I don't like, but I see a glimmer. I would like to create a thread with this person. And I will say something, a little tiny thread of connection with this person, because if I do that effectively, then if down the road, someday they have a question and somehow it's in my sphere, they're going to ask me. And I want them to ask me and not someone else. So those little tiny threads, I think I would love to see more people let go of the sarcasm and the anger and the things they're doing for themselves, because that's why they're doing it. They're doing it to make themselves feel better. And more of the long-term thinking, which includes ignoring, because sometimes it's just not the right time in the right place. They're just not right time to walk away.
You said something the other day that has haunted me and like helped me change my behavior. You were like, if you're one of those people that comments on every single, and I was like,
you told me that.
I will
you sent me a private note.
Now. I just stop myself now and go, and then I delete what I was going to say. And it's never on dog training stuff, because I try not to do that anymore, but and I haven't for a while, but
one comment,
man,
and then walk away. Actually, okay, so people who are watching this, I'll tell you one of the most valuable things I've learned in social media that has prevented the 3 days of not eating because I'm so stressed out about the whole thing. Here's a phrase. I want you to hold it. I want you to hold this to your heart. Some people listen to misunderstand. Yeah. This is the most valuable thing I have learned on social media in the last few years. Yeah. And as soon as you learn that some people, and now remember that phrase, and now watch for it. Yeah. So if you have a conversation with somebody, it's fine. As soon as some part of your brain finds yourself pedaling back against the wall saying, wait, I didn't say that. I didn't mean that. Before you type, I want you to ask yourself, reread what you wrote and say, could this by a reasonable person have been interpreted that way? And if the answer is no, because I'm a pretty clear speaker, if a reasonable person could not have come to that conclusion, you need to understand that the person is listening to misunderstand. Yeah. Walk away from that conversation. It will not change. I do not care how painful it is. I don't care if you have to tie your hands behind your back, duct tape over your mouth, walk away. You will find peace. You will learn that there is power in walking away. There is peace. There's power in walking away. Coco and I, whenever we're being real silly, we remind each other that we used to spend hours a day arguing with 15-year-olds on TikTok. Oh my God. Just to humble ourselves real quick. You know what? I have told people on TikTok, I've like, they'll be going back and forth with somebody, and I'll finally say to them, you do know that person is probably 16, right? And that ends the conversation. You can almost see the adult going, oh my God, I can't believe I've been acting like this. Because when you get in that conversation,
15-year-old.
you have dropped yourself down to that level. Oh my God, please don't. That's so embarrassing. The thought that I've done it too, right? I have been arguing with a 15-year-old on TikTok. Do I really have nothing else going on in my life? But some 15-year-olds inhabit bigger, older bodies. And we just need to remember, age is only a number. You can be talking to a 50-year-old who has the mentality of 15-year-old. Mm-hmm. So the minute you figure out they're listening to argue, listening to misunderstand, ask yourself, is that really how you want to spend your time? Is that your best and highest use of the next 5 minutes? Because it's not going to end. It's going to go until you're exhausted and nobody's paying attention, and now you're both dirty and in the gutter.
It's a circular conversation, and circular conversations have no ending or no point.
Nope. And they make people, honestly, start to doubt you. Yeah. Because you're in the conversation with this person, and you're both probably behaving worse and worse, because I can't help it. The sarcasm starts to bubble up. I have a terrible sarcastic streak, but I keep it to myself, or I send you a private note, right? Like I work really hard on social media to act like an adult. And if I'm struggling, that's why I have friends so that I can go over there. But if you get into these conversations, you start to cast doubt on yourself, because people don't read long enough to try to figure out, he said, she said, 18 videos back. People don't track it all back. So you've just basically just put a cloud over yourself. You don't want to be in that cloud. Don't get in that stupid conversation. Walk away.
All those moments in my life I can't get back. Okay, what do you think has been your biggest contribution to the dog world?
Oh, what an interesting question.
Or maybe, let me say, what do you think is your legacy to the dog world?
Okay, I'm going to answer this.
God, I feel like Oprah. Does anybody else? Like Barbara Walters and Oprah.
No, it's a great question. I had a health scare a while ago, and so I had some time to think about, if I was only going to live a few more years, how do I feel about that? Like, how do I? If you're going to die, like earlier than you planned or hoped, what would the regrets be? What would the points, the good things, right? And while there are regrets, I would say that I could die now saying, on balance, I made a difference in the dog world. I brought it to a better place. On balance. Now, I hope I'm not going to die too soon, but we all don't know. And that to me, for myself, is a big deal. I feel like I made it okay to be kind. And I think I sort of normalized the idea that positive reinforcement can yield some pretty good results in the competition sphere. So I was kind of a leader. It's not as rare now, but I was kind of a leader at that time. And I think some people, they say to me, they have learned, you can say what you need to say and be kind at the same time. I don't really have a problem saying what I want to say. And I don't have to be an ass. And I think people struggle. When I was younger, I couldn't do it. I was either an ass or I was kind. I didn't know how to be kind. I'm at the point where I have learned how to say what I want to say that needs to be said. Not everything needs to be said, but if it needs to be said, I've learned how to do that. And I think some people have learned that from me. So I guess those are the things I would say I feel really good about. And I feel like I told somebody this today, 99% of the people in the world, if they understood that I'm at a point in my life where I get to do what matters the most to me, which is to educate, would be, hold on real quick. Yeah.
Can we talk for a minute?
No, because I'm on a live. I'll talk to you soon though. 99% of people would say, wow, I hope I get to a point in my life where I can spend my time, not the way you do, doing what you do, but feeling the way you do about how you spend your time. Because I feel really good about how I get. To me, it's a privilege to spend my time the way I do. And other people are like, oh, thank you so much for helping me with this. And I'm like, no, really, thank you, because this is how I want to spend my time. Yeah. So I'm very, very fortunate for that.
What do you think your biggest mistake has been?
Well, I
Or
gotta
an
admit,
overarching theme that you struggle with constantly, or you still struggle with?
well, I'm getting better, but probably the biggest thing is I open my mouth too fast and I say things.
That's my thing, Denise.
Well, you and I have a lot in common. I speak with the assumption that people are coming from a place of goodwill and want to understand. Now, I'm not saying want to misunderstand is the opposite. I'm just saying I assume that if I say something, that you are taking my perspective, so you understand that I come with goodwill,
Yeah.
and you want to understand. I have been very slow to recognize that I am responsible for communicating in a softer way, even though my nature is very quick and direct. So if I'm talking to you in private, I'm just going to say what I want to say, and I'm going to say it very quickly because I
Right.
know that you know where I'm coming from, and I know that I'm not putting more on it. I'm just saying what I'm saying,
Right.
and there's no reason to add context that didn't exist. When you're on a public stage, I think I cannot take that freedom. I cannot make those assumptions if I want to be understood, and I really do want to be understood.
Yeah.
And so I always have to work to slow down and not be inflammatory by accident, because I'm not inflammatory on purpose, but I am frequently inflammatory by accident. And that is a work in progress. I am pretty ADHD. I mean, it's pretty noticeable to people who understand that. I'm very flighty and quick.
You told me
So
once not to send you anything longer than 2 minutes or you weren't going to watch
I
it.
can't, my attention span's shitty. So I think it's been a lifelong challenge for me. And I think it will be a challenge till I put a foot in the grave. I think I'm getting better. I hope I'm getting better. But sometimes it still bites me in the butt, and it probably always will. So I think that's something I think is just my personal lifelong have to learn. How about yours? Now I want to hear.
It's the same thing. It's my mouth. Um, it's learning how to balance. It's learning how to balance the boldness, or how to make sure that it's boldness and not abrasiveness. That's hard. I'm sure that's going to be the theme for all of my 40s, is just even how do I get my head around this to get. But I'm just like you. I'm improving. I'm doing better.
And it is two sides of the same coin, right? Because that boldness, that abrasiveness, is also what allows you to say things that frankly need to be said.
Correct.
And yes, could we say it better? Absolutely. But you say things that I'll look at it, I'll go, woo, that's hot. That's hot. But at the same time, there's a part of my brain saying that needed to be said, maybe a little differently, but it needed to be said. And frankly, I have an admiration for the fact that you did it, that you put that out there because you thought it was right. You felt it was right. Maybe your delivery could have changed. But the thing is, the alternative is you can be truly lacking in courage. And I would say that the majority of people are lacking in courage. They can't say things that are even not that strong.
Not even that controversial.
No.
Yeah.
And, I often think, gosh, if you always say what everybody else wants to hear, do you ever run yourself into a problem when you're alone? Like, how do you know what your answer is if you don't have your friends to tell you what the answer is?
Right.
And I would be so stressed out at losing myself. Like, I wouldn't even know who I was anymore if I had to ask somebody else what the answer was to how I feel about something. And I don't even know if people know they're doing that, but I actually think they are, because they'll wait when something comes up that's inflammatory, and they'll wait. And then
the other's response.
Exactly. Yeah. And then all of a sudden everybody's on top of it. I would be kind of mortified to lose myself in life that way. I'd rather just, I don't think I know one person that I agree with 100%. And I'm so okay with that. I mean, you and I have had talks where you'll say, well, what do you think about this? And I'll say, well,
I don't really see it like that.
Well, let me give you another another way of looking at it. You know what that means right there, right?
Yeah, 100%. Madison does the same thing to me. She's like, ooh, I don't know. And that's all I need to hear is like, no, well, now I got to listen.
Yeah.
Because if someone that I'm so close to, that I care so much about, whose opinion I value so highly, has this thought, I am called to consider it. I must. It doesn't mean I need to put it on like a skin suit and wear it. It just means that I owe it to this relationship to hear this person out in this moment, regardless of whether I pick this up or not. And I think that is
like,
good
I don't
practice.
feel like if you do something a little edgy, I don't feel like I need to do that publicly. What could possibly be gained by that? I mean, why not? Let's just have a little private conversation on the side. And I don't know. I mean, I still admire that you're willing to put things out there. Yeah. I still think that that's, you know, in the big picture, that's the thing that's lacking in society is thoughtful boldness. I don't, there's not a lack of people who think a lot about before they speak. There are people who think so much, they never say a damn thing. And that's, I don't know, maybe it's okay, but it's not contributing to society. It's not moving anything forward. You know, it's not moving anything. If they just hold it all inside, you know, and, or maybe don't even, I don't know, maybe some people don't even think about stuff. I don't know. I'm not one of those people, so I can't really say. But
Same. I don't know either. I was raised by, like, if people think that I'm bold, oof, my mom has always just said what she believes to be right, period. There was never, ever, I have never seen my mom apologize for anything she's ever said. She might not for saying it. Yeah. She might admit that she was wrong or something like that. But I learned a long time ago not to be a people pleaser and to be true to myself and what I believed, and I appreciate that from my mom. My dad can be a little bit of what I would perceive to be a people pleaser, but not my mother. I definitely got that from her. Okay, so the last thing I want to ask is, well, maybe not that question. That one's kind of boring. I don't think that. How can people see more of us? Watch Instagram every day. There's something every day.
God damn, you can't get away from it.
I know.
I swear to God, every the videos comes up on somebody's screens, probably one of us.
Yeah, you get used to being sick of us. Okay, so moving forward, what do you think?
Can I ask you another question that you asked me? What do you think your greatest contribution is to date to anything, to the world?
Oh, how do I say that concisely? My biggest contribution to the world is teaching people how to be true to themselves. There's a better way for me to say that. So my kind of way that I get through life is no one will hold my life against me. That will never, ever, ever happen. No one will shame me for my choices. No one will guilt me for my choices. And that has given me like a freedom that I think is available to every person. If they're honest with themselves and they're constantly introspective and they're chipping away at this thing all the time and trying to build this masterpiece. I think that's probably my biggest contribution right now. What would I like for my biggest contribution to be? I don't know that I want to say that. I think that that's private. I would like for one of my contributions to be just acknowledgement that I am a Black woman in this industry and that we're represented here and that we have a place here. That's probably what I would like for my legacy to be, just because of my family, because it was just, I mean, one decision different and it would have just been erased forever, like it never happened out of my family. You know, one different decision that my biological mother would have made to not have me, to just have an abortion or whatever it was that she chose, but she didn't. And she tells me all the time that she just felt like there was a reason that I needed to be here And so I carry that around a lot. I think another contribution is probably just how to bring as much as I can of the recovery world into dog training, because I think it's just so much about connection and helping people understand that they can make changes in their own life. They can find improvement. They can have relief. We talked about that earlier. That's a huge driver for me, is helping people find relief. So I guess that.
So, because your background is kind of extreme, like you've been through it.
Yeah.
And because you're not ashamed. It's like you take that and you made it this amazing part of who you are today. And when I read your stuff where you talk about your story and you tie it to other people who are struggling and you say, look, what you did, that's okay, fine. It's part of who you are. Where are you going? And we're going to get there. I love that message that you really reach out. Oh my God, I just had this weird parable in my head of Jesus, but work with me here. You really reach out to people who I think need it the most. So people who are struggling, however it is they're struggling, I think what you do is a lot more than talk to them about dog training. It's almost like it's a parable, that the dog training is just a parable.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. It's a big parable.
You give a lot of, it's more than hope, because it's an acknowledgement that all that shit that's happened to a person is actually, in some ways, it can become the best part of you and your life. Like when I was growing up, I was not a very nice person, and without going into it in great detail, I was kind of an unpleasant human being. And I came from a family that sort of prided themselves on aspects of being unpleasant human beings. And at some point I decided I don't want to be that anymore. But you know what? I am so grateful I was that person, because I can look back on that, and then I can look at who I am today, and I can say, even unpleasant, black and white, I was a very black and white thinker, and I was right. So I knew everything. And I think what you do is you help people recognize that their greatest challenges and flaws of today can become their greatest strengths of tomorrow. I'm a crossover trainer, and I've done things that were very rough to dogs. And I'm not actually sorry they happened. Like, I'm sorry to the individual dogs. Right. And I wish I hadn't harmed them, but I'm not sorry for the experiences, because those experiences are an enormous part of who I am. And I have actually reached out to prior clients and apologized for things.
Same.
And my feeling now is, I'm so sorry to you because you trusted me as a professional. I'm so sorry, of course this is in the past, to the dog. But I'm not sorry for the experience, because the fact that I still remember it today and still felt that I needed to apologize, those were some of the most pivotal parts of who I am.
Yeah.
You bring that message every time you post, that your past, the worst parts of your past, may well be the best parts of your future. And I really love that message. And I think it's really empowering for people who haven't had it easy, who are struggling, to kind of like, yeah, I can be that way. I can be Jerri. Jerri did it. I can.
That's right.
And
that's what it is.
I love that. And you've done more than just dig yourself out of a hole. You've put yourself in this amazing position. People work for you. People look up to you. You've got some really innovative ideas of how to move dog training forward. You're taking all those bad things and like you've packaged them into something really very unique and dependent on those things. Like if you hadn't had your past, you could not go where you're going.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome. And I'm really glad I'm a part of your world, because your world is interesting and unique. And I appreciate that I am a piece of it.
Same. And I'm so glad we had this time together. I could ask you 1,000 more questions about so many different things. And I want to just suggest that we should do this more often and talk about some of this stuff. I can bring some questions. I can actually ask people what their questions might be too. Because I think people actually really like hearing all of this stuff. I think that they like hearing the conversations behind the dog training, like who we are as people, the kinds of things that we're learning, that we're working on. Like that, I think is much more interesting to people and will pull people in so much more than me showing play stay on a reel. Like, I can't.
So Jerri, I just had this thought, and I'm just going to say it because we already discussed that sometimes I just speak, right? But here's something we might want to think about doing. We could co-host kind of a regular thing where we invite other people in the industry to talk about, like that conversation that came up a couple of days ago where balance trainers talked with force-free trainers.
Yeah.
We could actively reach out to balance trainers, force-free trainers, make a real effort to make sure it's a diverse group of folks that we're chatting with in all ways, in training methods, in ethnicity, in all ways, and have conversations about things like, hey, how much do you prioritize living with the rooster versus training the rooster? Like that kind of conversation, you know, there could be 2, 3, 4, we could both kind of work to select guests, to interview them together. I think we could have a lot of fun. I think we'd be well entertained. And I think
like this idea.
Some pretty cool, I don't know, how many can you have on a live on Instagram? I only done 2. Can you do 3?
I don't remember.
Does anybody know? Can you do more than 2 people? Because like being able to do like 3.
I know you can do 3 because I've done it before. I think you could do 5.
Oh, see, I think that would be really fun, really cool, really dynamic. And
I agree.
I think the time is right for our industry to be having more conversations about what are big picture best practices, like kind of regardless of your training methodology. How do we want pet people to see dogs? What matters? And how can we, what kind of language can we use? Or even your the way you do this daily check-in. I think more people should know about this. I think more people should give their ideas, that, you know, or my friend's happy hour. These kind of things, we should be talking about these best practices.
Yeah.
You know, and if we're going to do board and train, what is the best use of that time? If you're going to take somebody's dog into your home, what are the expectations around that? What should that look like? You know, so because somebody, I think it was Amy Cook, popped in here for a bit. She said she does board and trains for puppies, like kind of a little bit of house break-in, a little socialization, and some reactivity walks. All right. Yeah. You know, we can have these conversations about what would the future look like if we could make it? What are the best things that we think we're doing today? Share them and see if, you know, and try to get rid of the what side of the fence are you on, because you know I can't listen if you're over there. Like
it's just so 2020, you know, like we're trying to move past that. We're trying to move past that.
Yep, your open-minded approach.
Yeah. Everybody write that down. This is a big moment for me, Denise.
I think this could be a super cool thing. I'd love to do this. I would absolutely do this with you on a regular basis. We can do your wall, my wall, other people's walls.
For the people that don't know how Denise and I met, it was because I was mean to her. And then I had to go and say I was sorry because I did a bad. She was like, it's fine. And then we were friends after that. But
you apologized.
Perfect. Well, I had to. I'm so embarrassed. It's a perfect example of how it doesn't really matter. And as long as you just say you're sorry when you do a dumb thing and keep communication open, that people with differing ideas can not only be friends, but they can actually learn a great deal from each other and probably improve themselves as people. You know, over something that was wasn't a disagreement. You didn't even know, but you know, I mean, it's just a really great example of that. Some of my best, most meaningful relationships have come that way, and it's always me. It's always me that does something,
but you know
and
what?
I have to go and be like, hey, I was wrong.
Yeah, but look at, you know what? Forgiveness is a thing. Like, frankly, it really was nothing to me. And so when you like, I'm sorry, I'm like, yeah, it really doesn't matter. And let's move on. And we did. But for other people, if you're a person who holds a grudge over something trivial, just be aware that you might miss out on a really cool relationship. Like, don't hold grudges over dumb things on social media. Unless, I mean, obviously if somebody's manipulating you, but you know what I mean? Like, let things go. Life is too short to hold a grudge over nothing, or just nothing, you know?
I agree. Well, we're going to cohort about this co-hosting live event because I have the time to do it. I'm in a great place to do it right now.
We're going to do it then.
I think it's such a good idea.
Somebody asked if it'd be scheduled. Yeah, we'll schedule it and we'll make it happen. So we're going to get rid of all you people and then we're going to chat and we're going to decide, pick our first guest, pick a time, and let's just make this happen.
Okay. Let's do it.
All right, friends.
Bye, everybody. I'm going to post this to my wall.
Please do. Can I? I don't know if I can. I'm going to try it.
I'll try to have you in it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.